Want a huge deal on a large pizza? For a very limited time at Donato's, buy any large pizza and add a large one-topping pizza for 50% off. Yes, half off. Use promo code HALF. Donato's, gotta love more.
The Sports Desk at the Columbus Dispatch presents the BuckeyeXtra Basketball Podcast. With your host, Ohio State basketball beat writer Adam Jardy.
Brady Batiste says, "Give me the rock." Here it goes. Up and away. Slam jam bam. And now he does a little dance.
Now, the BuckeyeXtra Basketball Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Adam Jardy from the Columbus Dispatch. Today is Monday, June 22nd, 2026. And it's my official duty to welcome you into episode 561 of the BuckeyeXtra Men's Basketball Podcast. Welcome to Jubilation City. Welcome back to the Jardy Basement. Welcome back to real life. As I discussed in the last podcast, had jury duty last week. I might talk a little bit about that here at the very end of the podcast. But the plan had been I was going to record sometime today because we were able to watch a little bit of Ohio State basketball practice on Thursday. We talked to Jake Diebler and John Mobley Jr. The NBA draft is coming up. Ohio State landed an early arrival from LJ Smith. Like, there's a lot of stuff here. So the plan had been to get at this at some point today. And then we are about half an hour removed from some pretty seismic college basketball news, which is that Michigan head coach Dusty May is leaving the Wolverines after 2 seasons to go coach the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA. And the implications across the Big Ten are certainly significant. The implications at the top of the projected top of the sport next year are significant. And I think this is a big moment, a big signpost type of day, I think, for Ohio State, because this is certainly a name that has been attached to this current era of Ohio State men's basketball. This is somebody that through thick and thin, I would hear from fans that were rather upset that Ohio State did not hire Dusty May after it fired Chris Holtmann. And now Dusty May is off to the NBA. So we're going to touch on all of that, at least to some degree here. I'm going to keep this relatively tight. It is Monday morning and there's a lot going on here. So we're going to dive into all that here in just a second. Before we do, I'll remind you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. If you do subscribe, you'll automatically get the newest ones just as soon as our man, Patrick Flaherty, the Podfather, can grab them and publish them for us. While you're subscribing or downloading, please leave a review. Please click 5 stars, and please consider telling a friend. Thanks to everyone who's taking the time to do all those things. Donato's is legendary for putting so many toppings on their pizzas, but just wait till you hear what they're taking off. For a very limited time, when you buy any large Donato's pizza, you can add a large one-topping pizza for 50% off. That's right, half off. You order using promo code HALF. Order your favorite large Donato's pizza and add a large one-topping pizza for half off today. Donato's, gotta love more. All right, so the Dusty May news. So this is something that has been intriguing to me as this offseason has unfolded, because clearly Michigan was doing everything to try to keep him, or at least that's what it appeared, and he had agreed to a new contract. And Michigan's athletic director had discussed that when they had the championship parade, but it hadn't been signed yet, which was weird. And the longer that went on without an announcement that he had officially signed the contract, you do this stuff long enough, and that raises like some warning flags in the back of your head of like, well, if you're going to sign it, why don't you just sign it? So this always sort of felt like a possibility in the back of my head, but it never, I guess the longer it went on, the more I was just like, I figured one day we'd get an announcement that like, oh yeah, he actually signed the contract 2 weeks ago, and all things moving forward in Ann Arbor, and he's going to be there forever and blah, blah, blah. So that was the news I was eventually expecting to happen. But instead, what we're dealing with here is, this is a shock. Nobody seemed to have any idea that this was coming. This is a move that, like I said, impacts certainly the Big Ten and certainly the top of the sport. Looking at the early preseason rankings for next year, On3 has Michigan at number 2, and CBS and ESPN both have the Wolverines at number 3. We're too early into this to really have an idea where this coaching search might go. Do the Wolverines hire internally. Mike Boynton is on Dusty May's staff. He was the head coach at Oklahoma State. So, that's a potential option there. So I don't know. That's going to be It's going to be a fascinating coaching search because the carousel is done. Everyone is kind of where they are. All the coaches that signed contract extensions when the carousel was spinning seem pretty relatively entrenched where they are. ESPN does have a story up mentioning like Boynton as a guy. St. Louis's Josh Schertz, who's a close friend of Dusty May's, but he got a new contract. The article mentions how when the North Carolina job opened, you heard Vanderbilt's Mark Bynington, Texas Tech's Grant McCasland, and Iowa's Ben McCollum. There's mentions of Alabama's Nate Oates, Iowa State's TJ Otzelberger. Is Billy Donovan a guy? We're really early in this, no indication yet, like where the search is going to go. But the thing that I'd like to hear from you, and I was going to put this on Twitter as a poll, but I don't know. It's just Twitter. It is what it is these days. But I think the thing that is most interesting to me as an Ohio State writer in this whole situation is, if you're a fan, do you make this deal? Do you sign up for hire a guy, get him for 2 years, wins a natty, and then leaves? Because you're talking about like literally the highest high, and then pretty jarring. Low isn't, I guess from a fan perspective, it's a low. You just lost your national championship coach after 2 years. That's a hit. That is a significant hit. And certainly as Michigan put together the season that it did last season, I heard from plenty of fans who said, well, why didn't Ohio State hire Dusty May instead of Jake Diebler? And we've gone over this topic on here, and I wrote plenty about it at the time. It is worth pointing out, it's not even that Ohio State so much as did not hire Dusty May as that Dusty May did not want to go to Ohio State. So that was part of the whole calculus and all this. But do you make that trade if you're a fan? Do you take, we're going to have this guy for 2 years and we're going to win a championship and then he's gone? Like, does Dusty May ever go back to Ann Arbor? I don't know. My read of the whole Gary Williams saga when he left Ohio State after just a couple of years and went to Maryland, there were not warm and fuzzy feelings in Columbus, and he obviously did go on to win a national championship there. So this is a complicated feeling, I think, for a fan base. And I've checked in with just a couple of friends of mine that whose opinions on life in general that I care about just said, hey, as a fan, do you take this trade-off? You get the guy for 2 years, you win a title, and then he leaves. And it seems pretty split. Some people are like, absolutely, got to win the championship, and that's the main goal. And then some people are like, no, that's not what I'm here for. Not the way I want things to go. I will be interested. This is going to be a really fascinating couple of days as it plays out here. And certainly the impact that it could have on other programs. Does Michigan hire away a sitting head coach from somewhere else? Does Mike Boynton get the interim bump and they conduct a full coaching search in the offseason next year? It's worth pointing out the transfer rules now state that, because the portal is obviously closed, when a head coaching change happens, a 15-day window will open 5 days after the new coach is hired or publicly announced. If a new head coach is not announced within 30 days, then a 15-day window will open. So Michigan's current roster does not have to immediately jump in the portal. They have the luxury of kind of waiting to see here what this looks like, how this plays out. So when you look at Michigan's roster, you've got Elliot Cadeau is back. Trey McKinney looks like he's going to have a huge season. Mustafa Thiam from Cincinnati, JP Estrella from Tennessee, Jalen Reed from LSU. Michigan brought in the number 18 prospect in the class, 5-star guard Brandon McCoy. It's number 4 recruiting class in the country. There's other top 100 recruits in there, including a Joseph Hartman. And I went to school with a Joseph Hartman. I graduated with a class of 73, and there was a Joe Hartman in there. So that's going to be weird to me. So ESPN's Jeff Borzello points out that there aren't enough players left on the market to replace multiple players of note. So it would seem the most important move that Michigan can make at this point would be to make a decision that allows whoever is the coach to retain as much roster talent as possible. And how that plays out will ultimately determine where Michigan goes. Because like I said, projected as a consensus top 5 team in the nation next season. and certainly a Big Ten favorite, if not the Big Ten favorite. And now everything is up in the air. This is wild. I didn't think this was how the week was going to get started. So let's move on from that. There's not a whole lot else to say, but I would like to hear, if you have thoughts, shoot me an email. Like, let me know what you think. Like, as an Ohio State fan, would you have taken Dusty May for 2 years, and then today we're talking about a coaching search and my summer is ruined? Where would we all be on that? I'm very interested to hear from you. So now moving on, the news that broke on Monday while I was at jury duty, but when I say I was at jury duty, I was just sitting there. So was able to be on top of it. Ohio State brings in LJ Smith early. So LJ had been a 2027 committed to Ohio State last November, and kind of got to a point where it was like, what more is there at the high school level? What more is there at the AAU level? Does it just make sense to get to Ohio State early? And these were conversations that had been ongoing for a good while. And there were times in the last 6 months, 7 months, juggle your hands if you'd like, where I thought this was going to happen, and then periods where I thought it wasn't going to happen. It just seemed like it depended on the month, honestly, and just kind of where different people's opinions were on it. But it became more clear as we got further into this offseason here that they felt he could help Ohio State this year, and he was ready to move on. And so LJ Smith leaves Oak Hill Academy and joins Ohio State's roster. As it's weird, I don't know if we consider him a 5-star. He was a 5-star in the 2027 class. So when he reclassifies and joins the 2026 class, both 24/7 Sports and ESPN have dropped him from 5-star to 4-star. So he was the number 25 national player, number 5 combo guard in the 2027 class at 24/7 Sports. So he dropped from the number 25 recruit to the number 48 recruit, and from number 5 combo guard to the number 7 combo guard by moving up to the 26 class. And over at ESPN, he dropped also from a 5-star to a 4-star, which had him as he was the number 11 player in the class, and now he's the number 27 player this year. So ESPN is really high on him and has been higher on him than some of the other websites for a significant period of time here. But he's clearly like at least in his age, a top 30, top 25 player. And among all incoming freshmen now, he's a top 40 player, top 50 player, depending on what you rank. And this to me is the most interesting part in this, because certainly you don't do this if you don't think he can help you. Like if you're Ohio State and players really pushing like, hey, I want to graduate early and come help. And it's like, yeah, but you're not going to play, and we don't think you're ready. So like, keep playing, just play games, like keep training and kick that can down the road and get here when you're supposed to get here and be an immediate impact player. I do think this sort of impacts the immediate ceiling for LJ, because he is going to be what should be a high school senior going against college players. So that's going to have an impact on this. But so we got to see him a little bit on Thursday when we watched practice. We got to watch about 40 minutes. They did up and down stuff, some drills, some 2-on-2, 3-on-3 type of things. LJ was able to do a few things, but not everything. He hadn't been fully like medically cleared for all activities yet. When we were there on Thursday, he had just arrived on Wednesday night. So that very well could have changed by this point, but he still had to get his feet underneath him. But you could see the talent, you could see the shot making. You could see his head spinning a little bit because, a day ago he was a high school kid and now he's on the court playing against, we'll talk more about this in a moment, but a big looking Ohio State team. But that was my biggest question and thing I wanted to hear from Jake Diebler about, is just like, how much is it fair to expect from him when he should be a high school senior? It didn't impact Cooper Flagg. I do think about like Musa Jallow did this, and he was a good player. But like he wasn't, first of all, he wasn't as highly rated as LJ Smith was when he decided to reclassify and join Ohio State early, as Chris Holtman was building out that first roster. But, you could see it that first year that there was growth that needed to happen. And this is probably the only podcast that's going to put LJ Smith, Cooper Flagg, and Musa Jallow in the same sentence, but that's where we are, folks. So I asked Jake Diebler about that. Like, what is fair? Like, do you lower expectations because he should be a high school senior? And Diebler kind of shied away from that. He said, I'm expecting him to be impactful, What that impact looks like, ultimately, he's going to decide. But he's got a high basketball IQ. He's talented. He's got a skill set that will translate right away. Beyond that, there's a baseline level of impact that I'm expecting, and then leaving room for the ceiling that he's ultimately going to push up. I did say this was a collaborative process. This was something that both sides had conversations about and ultimately collectively agreed that this was the right move for him. Diebler said, quote, "I'm expecting him to impact winning, and from there, what that looks like, how much that is, time will tell." And this to me underlined, I guess, how we should look at this going forward. Diebler said, "There's no question he wouldn't be here if we didn't feel like he was going to have an impact on this team." Now, his size is going to allow Ohio State to do a couple of things because John Mobley is 6'2", 190. Justin Pippen, 6'4", 190. Jimmy Williams, 6'4", 210. Curtis Givens III, 6'3", 190. And LJ is like 6'4", 180. So, like, the strength thing, that's a thing, and he'll need to put on a little bit of weight. But there's a lot more size there to where you don't have to play a Devin Royal type at the 3 to get bigger. Ohio State has enough big guards and wings at this point to where this team is, I just think, going to look differently. It was probably my biggest takeaway from seeing them on the court at the Schottenstein Center on Thursday was simply that there is a lot more size than what we have gotten used to seeing. So LJ will be a part of that. We'll see how the summer unfolds and how he fits into all that. As far as the practice itself goes, we didn't see the one person who was not participating, aside from LJ sitting out a few things, was Josh Ojonwuna was not a full participant, but that's just his continued return to play progression. They don't have a game to play tomorrow or next week or next month. So what I had been told was he was fully active the day before, and then this was just a scheduled rest day for him as he continues to improve and get healthy and all those things. So aside from the height, which was something that really did stand out to me, and I should mention too, I've posted clips. There's about 4.5 minutes of practice footage on dispatch.com in our video playlist that has like all the interviews from the summer. You can see that at the top of my stories. I've also posted video clips to my social media channels. I did change the Instagram from hoops_and_scoops to at CD Adam Jardy. Just sounds better, flows better, less difficult or less annoying to speak, I suppose. And also to my TikTok as well. So if you want to see some clips and get some eyes on a couple of guys, you can do that. Aside from the height, which I thought was noticeable, a lot of shot making. One of the guys that really stood out to me from a shot making perspective was Curtis Givens. Just a guy we're still figuring out who can do what and how these guys can play and what they can do. And that dude made a ton of shots. 2-on-2 drills, 3-on-3 drills. He looked impressive from a shooting standpoint. I should have said this before I even began. Let's qualify all this. This is roughly 35 to 40 minutes of one summer practice at the beginning of the summer. So we're not drawing any sweeping conclusions here or painting anybody in a certain box that's who they are. Like, we got a lot to learn about this team. This is just one practice session, one early observation session. Next thing that was fun to watch was the battles between John Mobley Jr. and Justin Pippen. Those two were consistently going at each other at a high level of competition. It was borderline chippy at times. And one of the things that really stood out to me was there were two occasions, and he didn't get the call either time, but twice John Mobley Jr. attempted to draw a charge on Justin Pippen on drives into the lane. And I thought that was noticeable as Mobley talked about needing to get better defensively when we spoke with him. And certainly that's a thing we can all say from having watched him, like there's room to grow there. He seemed to be taking some of that to heart, at least in that bit that we saw. Certainly the shot making is still there, and he looks very much like the same player. He had a nice sequence where he was driving the left block and he got around a guy and threw a bounce pass to Andrea Jelovic, who dunked it. It was a nice reach around pass. As he took contact, he got knocked to the ground, and teammates or coaches helped him up. He looked. There was a little bit more playmaking from Mobley, and the little bit, like I said, that we did see. I'm looking at some of my notes here. Like Miles Hero looked good. I mean, he made a bunch of shots. He had a couple of drives, looked more confident, looked more like a guy. I still don't really expect him to impact the playing rotation, but looks like he's improved from, whatever role he had last year. There was a sequence where Curtis Givens was matched up with Anthony Thompson, and he got past Anthony, but Anthony was able to use his size and his length to quickly react and recover and affect the shot. And then on the next play, Anthony Thompson got matched up with Alex Smith, and he promptly rejected him. Again, looking at my notes, I wrote Givens can shoot, and then later I went back and I put an exclamation mark. One of the coaches was saying to, I think it might have been Pippen, or maybe it was one of the bigs, but they were just dealing with some contact and physicality, and one of the coaches said, just wait until you play Michigan State. Like, get used to this. I saw Yelovich swish a three. He looked nimble around the rim. He looked a little quicker, more agile than I was expecting. Mobley, you can see that like there's some different coaching going on for him, where like he's a face now. Like he's not that he was ever just a guy on the team, but like without Bruce there, certainly, I mean, he's the most experienced player on the roster and a focal point in pretty much every facet of what this team is going to be. And so you could see like Diebler coaching him hard in front of the team. Like he missed a layup and Diebler was hard on him, saying how like, you can't miss layups. Like that's not acceptable. There's another moment where they were split into teams, and the one team was huddled up, and Anthony Thompson wasn't happy about like a call, and so he was complaining about something, and one of the coaches told Anthony like, that's not what we do. You got to stop complaining. And then told Justin Pippen the same thing. Like, listen, we got him complaining because he sees you complaining and thinks it's okay. Like, you can't be giving him those kinds of habits. So I thought that was interesting as well. Just that little back and forth. Let's see, wrote about Yelovich being quick. Yeah, it was, saying one coach telling Justin Pippen that his excuses are letting Anthony Thompson make excuses. Did see Pippen like diving for a loose ball. A lot of high intensity type of stuff. It was fun. It was cool to get to see some stuff, get some eyeballs on some guys. It doesn't always make for the greatest audio, just looking at my random notes here, but first impressions of some guys, and they've got pieces. They have more guys, it seems like, who can do more things, and they certainly have more size. So we'll see how that meshes with whatever else we get to see here as we move a little bit further into the summer. And the last thing here before we wrap this up, so Bruce Thornton and the NBA draft. So the draft gets underway Tuesday. First round is Tuesday. Second round is Wednesday. I will have a story up Tuesday morning about like the buildup for Bruce and what this has been like, and all the things leading into this. ESPN projects him to go at number 43. Sam Vecini at The Athletic has him at 44. USA Today has him at 50. So he is projected in like that middle of the second round. I do know that he's worked out for more than half of the NBA. I believe he's up to 18. He has a workout today, and I think that's his 18th individual workout as this draft approaches. So we'll see how that unfolds, what that looks like, where he goes, and I'll have more on that as we move here further into the week. So now I'm going to wrap this one up because I gotta get the day moving. Got a lot more to start tackling here. So interesting day. And we'll see kind of how this unfolds. And again, I'd like to hear your thoughts. If you would have taken 2 years of Dusty May and you win a national championship and then he's off to the NBA and who knows what this season looks like, I'd like to hear that. And if you're like, absolutely not, I don't want someone who's going to cut and run at that kind of opportunity, let me know that too. Very interested to hear some of your thoughts. As far as the jury duty thing went, real quickly, sat there all day on Monday. Nobody got called into anything. They dismissed us in the afternoon. And I sat there on Tuesday. And shortly before lunch, they called 34 people in to possibly be on a jury. I was not among them. They sent us all to lunch. After lunch, we came back. We sat there for a while longer. And then at about 3:30, they said, we are releasing everybody for the week. So basically spent 2 days just sitting in a room, catching up on some reading and just generally hanging out. My friend Whitney was there too, and we kind of passed the time together, and it was weird on Wednesday, not collaborating on our lunch plans, but it was a good time hanging out with him, and the randomness of us both getting assigned jury duty at the same time. It was nice to have someone to go through that with. So yeah, that's about it. It was a weird week. I had expected to be fully booked all week long, and then that wasn't the case. And then I was able to go to Ohio State's practice and interviews on Thursday. So it all worked out. Whitney, I do want to hear what you thought of the Gales of November book. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. All right, so as always, you can send along your questions, your comments, your love notes, your hate mail, and otherwise constructive criticism to me at Adam Jardy on Twitter or ajardydispatch.com. Thank you again for listening. Thanks to Patrick Flaherty for getting this out to us so soon. Might have another one by the end of the week. We'll see how this all unfolds. Maybe we'll wrap up the draft and some thoughts on that as we get closer to the weekend. So stay tuned. Until then, though, be kind, take care, and we'll talk soon. Donato's is legendary for putting so much on their pizzas, but just listen to what they're taking off. Right now, buy any large pizza and add a large one-topping pizza for half off. Use promo code HALF. Donato's, gotta love more.
Be sure and subscribe to the Buckeye Extra podcast in the iTunes Store, the Google Play Store, or on Stitcher.